Okay, what are we doing here, hon?
We're doing the good, bad, and the ugly tour today. A real quick tour. We haven't touched this place in months, and things are happening. The forsythia is blooming. That means something, but I don't know what it is. So we're just gonna do stuff today. Here's a preview of what the garden looks like before we touch it. Over here in our first bed on the patio garden, the real challenge are the cedar trees and the roots that come up underneath. This bed is fairly full of roots. So it's a challenge to keep things hydrated correctly, but we do have a few things coming up, and we're just going to do some cleanup that should have been done probably a month ago, including trimming the little Japanese maple that's here. Related to the issues created by the cedar trees, you can see that there's a very tiny little rosemary plant that Jason had planted here. It's not dead, but the one in the pot that he had grown, were they the same? So they were the same cuttings, but the one that's in the pot is thriving without the competition of the roots and the really good soil in the pot. We're gonna try the strawberry tower again this year. We've cleaned up all the strawberries that were here. They had a rough year last year. La Nina was too cold, but La Nina is over, so we'll see how they do this year. Over here on the left-hand flower bed, we have a few things coming up that are going to be gorgeous. The oriental poppy, the peonies that are coming up, but generally just needs a little bit of cleaning up and maybe some topping with compost. That's the plan for today. As our regular viewers know, Snowy lived here and she passed last year. And since then, people have kind of gotten out of the habit of closing the gate, and a deer or more, we don't know how many, came through a couple weeks ago and ate all of the new broccoli, all of the broccoli shoots we were going to have for dinner. They ate a number of other things, including the kale. So we're going to try to redouble our efforts, but that's definitely one of the ugly parts. We've got a lot of plants that would have looked really beautiful right now, but not after the deer ate them. And we're over here back in the berry section of the garden. We have some potential plans for back here. One of the problems with having the raspberries here is that while it looks good now, by midsummer it's so full of growth over here that we can't get to the actual raspberries. So we're just thinking about how we might rearrange this a little bit. So that's the plans for today, is trying to figure that out. In the back garden, we have a really good example of what happens when you dig. This was dug up in order to get the weeds out and also to get out the ivy. It was covered in ivy. But since then, we've really struggled because we haven't done any of the no-dig methods, putting down a layer of compost, putting down cardboard, whatever, to keep the weeds down. And this just turns into kind of a constant battle against the weeds. I think a reset back here would be great, but we'll see if we have time for that. One interesting thing is the size of our pile that we can't use that would go out on the street this year compared to last year. This year you can see it's almost nothing, and we may just use this anyway in the hugelkultur bed if we decide to make one. But everything else in the garden that has been cut has been used in our compost. Very little waste. Really proud of that. Over here in the right-hand bed, again, just a number of places that need to be cleaned up, managing some of the self-seedings like the foxgloves. The highlight over here right now is the bridal spirea. It is just starting to bloom. It will be magnificent in a few weeks, I think. And then it needs a trim. It's 11 feet tall, and this year we're gonna trim it after it's done blooming. One other thing is the dead Japanese maple area. I've turned it into a light at night. It's got little fairy lights on it. It's the best I could do. As we're going around, I can see more deer damage. There were some tulips in here that have been chewed up, and there were some other flowers over here and also on the other side. So the deer were definitely having their way with the garden.
All right, first day, it feels like spring. Really nice. We're just standing here at our hugelkultur bed, and what we plan to do is just run you guys through real quick kind of our ever-evolving plan of what we're going to do. So we have some volunteer broad beans that are in the way of the pea trellis, so we're going to, as carefully as we can, transplant these somewhere else in the garden and our plan is to direct sow some peas, but we also have a backup plan, so we're going to sow them in cell trays as well. So yeah, unfortunately deer got most of this, but you know, what are you going to do? So yeah. All right, so we're here at the garlic bed, and these are the ones that we planted a month apart. So these are Colleen's here, these are mine here, and they look super good, super good. We had a nice cold winter, so that kind of kept the growth under control. They're not too big. And the other interesting thing is, you guys seen our video when we planted them, we put probably, I don't know, 3 to 5 inches of leaves run over the lawnmower, and basically the soil is right there now. So the soil really enjoyed having that cover, and yeah, so a few more months and we should have some medium-sized heads of garlic coming our way. Let's go. Ready?
Yeah.
All right, we're standing in front of my favorite bed in the whole garden. This is the wildflower bed. So glad we did this. We left this completely alone all winter. All I did was kind of lightly top dress with some compost in the fall, and I think we're not really going to mess with this yet. Just kind of leave it for habitat for the early pollinators. All right, we're standing in front of the bed where it's most apparent that we have a lead deficiency in our garden here. Yeah, the deer came and we had some beautiful broccoli, purple sprouting broccoli and some Brussels sprouts, and they kind of came in and had it all. So that's okay. It's a good lesson to learn, I guess. And yeah, we're gonna. Okay, this is another great lesson that I learned last year. I waited way too long to sow our cover crop of hairy vetch and rye, and just because we had such a crazy warm long summer, and by the time I got it in, the weather changed like that, so there was like very little germination. So what we ended up doing was basically just covering it with a whole bunch of leaves and seeing if anything came up, and nothing really came up. But the ground was covered over the winter, and there was food for the biology to eat. So yeah, good lesson. You know, kind of stick to a stricter sowing regimen, but you know, yeah, I'm sure the soil is going to be great this year. So okay, somehow the deer missed our pride and joy. This is our, I think, 2-year-old Brussels sprout plant.
Tree?
It just keeps going. So yeah, there's Brussels that have Brussels that now have Brussels on them. And yeah, we're gonna just keep this guy going for as long as he or she wants to go. So yeah, awesome, just awesome. All right, welcome to our beautiful Swiss chard broccoli, purple sprouting broccoli bed. Again, the deer, they just loved it. They thought it was just delicious. So we're left with some onions, some leeks that we're gonna let go to flower, and then we have a pretty interesting idea of what we want to do with this bed that you guys will see in a couple 3 weeks. All right, so this is our overwintering potatoes. Didn't work out. They popped up. We got a late freeze, and it killed them right back. So we are going to make good use of this soil. And this is also our overwintering carrot. This is with the king carrots that I sowed late fall last year. As you can see, a few have come up, but what I want to do is kind of recondition this whole bed. Again, this was soil from behind the garage, and this is kind of like the only area in our no-dig gardens that actually has like a bit of weed pressure to it. So I'm gonna leave a few of these to go to seed this summer, hopefully, and then replant the king carrots this year, and we'll see if we can get some straight ones, but hopefully we'll get ones that are interesting too. So so yeah. Okay, so this is the Pak Choi cold frame, and it's been 2-3 weeks since we released the video, and as you can see, if you've seen that video, how much growth has actually happened. It's kind of an insane amount of growth. Now, I did test Nick the gardener suggested that I lay some wood down, and I did do that. And as you can see, there is definitely slug pressure. But that being said, you can kind of see it gets to a certain point and kind of everyone's happy. Slugs are happy, we're happy, we got tons of pak choi. And yeah, so I'm glad I didn't take too many big swings at this and just kind of let it go. So interesting thing about the cold frame is it's been so warm, we actually have one pak choi that is going to seed. So we are going to have some stir fries this week, and we are going to flip this into another growing space very, very soon. So let's go. All right, last two beds. We've got the radish experiment going on here with the slug prevention. Yeah, they all seem to be doing good. There's no slug pressure as of yet. Seems to be a lot of other things that they can go around and eat. And yeah, look at this Hilda too. It is just amazing. Like it just keeps, it is perfect climate for it here. Yeah, it's just been in here for a few weeks now. So, and snow apple. Pretty glad we tried planting these. These have been delicious, not woody, not having a whole lot of air pockets in them. They're really, really good. So yeah, super happy with the gold frames. So let's go. Okay, just to quickly wrap up, this is our first attempt at our mini orchard. Allie, we did do the rabbit proofing, but interestingly, we think the deer actually took a liking to this Jonagold tree. As you can see, it has been eaten. It looks like it's too high for rabbits to get to. But yeah, super interesting. Whereas the suntan hasn't been touched. But yeah, maybe it's just tender enough for them to like it. But the most exciting part, I'm sure this will be interesting. Like, we'll just see. This might be a really good thing that the deer ate this. I have no idea. But we have our first shoots of comfrey coming up. So, Andrea, if you're watching this, let's go. Let's go.
We hope you enjoyed that really, hopefully, quick video once I'm done editing, showing what the garden looked like before we touched it. We are over here in the tomato, Bill and Val, Plot of Heaven area, and the artichoke is coming. So there's always some promise in the garden. So stay awesome, everybody.